prosecutors were appalling. The judge was very biased. The police were two-faced, bungling imbeciles, and the jurors were complete idiots, incapable of seeing the facts. The fact is, I was the real victim, and a lot of things were covered up. My trial was corrupt, and I was the victim of abuse.
Why do you think people make accusations that you like attention?
I'm bewildered by this fake narrative. I've avoided the spotlight at all costs for the last 10 years. I refused every internet interview request I've gotten. I'm bombarded with interview requests I turned down. Before my incarceration, I auditioned for a couple of reality shows. Big fucking deal. The media enjoys using a few reality show auditions as undeniable proof of narcissism. So I guess our entire society must be sick since millions of people audition for way more reality shows than I did. By the way, I was asked, practically harassed, to participate in these auditions. I never wanted to do any auditions for reality shows. Sorry folks, this narrative of me being an attention seeker is just more rapidly sensational fake news, peddled by the desperate fools in the media to sell their failing papers.
Why were you being accused of having connections with Karla Homolka?
This story is so stupid. David D'Amato and other online stalkers obsessed with me engaged in a smear campaign, starting this rumor. I had zero involvement in this stupid rumor. And some radio station in Toronto called me in 2007 offering to help clear it up. After I finished the radio interview, some loser tabloid reporter in Toronto contacted me begging for an interview. I forgot this idiot's name, but I agreed to allow him to help me out with this rumor and clear it up. He kept calling me afterwards, but I ignored him. It was clear he was unstable and obsessed with me. I can't even remember his name. It's pure defamation, people linking me to this woman. It's slander, saying I started it. It was all obsessed internet stalkers. I denied it, and people need to move on. At my trial, I was forced to admit to wildly bizarre lies by my defense team in order to obtain an NCR defense. My lawyers would bring me lies told about me and insist I agree to them in order to appear sick at trial. I refused to admit to these stupid lies, but I was pressured and told it was the only way to obtain a non-criminally responsible verdict. As I've said, these doctor reports are complete lies, and people need to stop referencing them to push their fake news narrative. I never was involved with this rumor, and I completely deny all connections. People need to just move on and stop lying. It's all fake news.
You have been accused of being a necrophiliac and a cannibal. Do you care to respond?
Why? Because I worked at a funeral home in the past. I worked for 6 months as an assistant and enjoyed it.